Hello everyone. Hope that you all are doing well. So you might have seen on various web applications that when you want to reset your password and you click on forgot password or reset password, then a reset link is being sent on your email. And through that link, you change your password, update your password for that web application, right? So today we'll be implementing that functionality for our web application using Spring Boot and Java. But before we jump into the code part, let me request you that if you gain some knowledge out of my videos, do like, share, comment on the videos, and if new to the channel, please subscribe and press the bell icon. So let's resume and let's go to the ID and let's start by writing the project. So basically, first what we'll be doing, I'll be making a login and registration module. Right, I have made various times, I have made login and registration module. The detailed videos are there. I think in the description, you can go and check that out. In today's video, we'll not be covering the login and the registration part, but yes, a 2x speed video will be played next. That will be showing you that how I'll be creating the project and how the first part of the project would be made. That is the login, registration, and dashboard part would be made. And then thereafter, I'll continue on that how we'll be implementing the functionality of forgot password. So now next will be the video in 2x speed, that how I'll be making the project. So now, as you have seen that how we have made this project of reset password, wherein we have different packages governing different functionalities, right? So I won't be going into the details of the project, right? We have login, registration, and dashboard HTML, and some of the properties in application.properties to connect to Postgres database, right? So first, let me show you the pom.xml. I won't be discussing the code part, but yes, let's discuss the pom.xml, that what all dependencies we require for this project, right? So these are the dependencies. First, we have the Spring Boot starter data JPA dependency. Then we have the mail dependency. So why we have inserted the mail dependency here? Because for the reset password, the functionality is that when you click on the forgot password, then you will be redirected to a page where you have to input your email ID, right? And on your email ID, a unique link will be sent that on that link you click, and then you are being redirected to a page where you can change your password, right? And when you change your password there, enter your new password, and when you submit it, it gets updated into the database, and then you are again redirected to login page, and you have been asked to log in with your new credentials. So that's why to send the mail to the user, the unique link will be sent to the user by email. That's why we have the email dependency here. Then we have the Spring security dependency, right? And then the HTMLs are made with Thymeleaf, so we have the Thymeleaf dependency. Then we have the Spring Boot starter dependency, and then we have the Postgres dependency, right? So we are dealing with the database of Postgres. That's why there is Postgres dependency. So these were the dependencies that we have inserted in our project that you might have seen when I was creating the project. So now what we have to do, we already have configured, if we go on the login HTML. So registration HTML remains the same, that there will be a form where you have to input your name, email ID, password, and all those things, and then you will submit it. Your user will get registered to the database, and then you will be redirected to the login page, right? So in the login page, if you scroll down a little bit, then you can see that we are accepting email ID and password from the user, and on the submit we'll log in the user, right? Same, the login functionality works the same way, that we'll load the user from the database present in the data. If it is present, then we'll redirect the user to dashboard, right? And now you can see here that I have added the link of forgot password, right? This endpoint we'll be making in the current part, right? So we have a link of forgot password. So if the user doesn't know that what is the password of his credentials, right? So he clicks on the forgot password link, and when he clicks, he'll be redirected to a page. So we can name that page as a forgot password page, right? Wherein email ID field would be given, where the user inputs its email ID and submits it. And when he submits it, we'll be at the backend, we'll be generating a unique link, and we'll be sending the unique link to the user by email, right? So now we have already made the login and registration module, right? Now what we have to make, that, okay, if the person clicks on forgot password, what will happen? So let's define a controller for forgot password, right? So if we go into the controller, so we can govern our whole application through login and registration controller, as we are only governing with the entrance part of the application, right? We are not doing any transaction or any process in the application. We are still dealing with the login and registration. So that's why I've made a single controller of login and registration, and we'll do everything in this controller only, right? So let's define a endpoint, that is a get mapping, that will be showing a HTML to the user when he clicks on this URL, right? So if he clicks on forgot password, then what will happen? We have to show user a HTML. So let me say public string, let's say forgot password, right? And we'll return a HTML. So first let me make an HTML, right? So I have already made an HTML, so I'll put the HTML in this folder. So let me go and put the HTML in this folder of resources. So we have this forgot password HTML, right? So what it contains, so it contains just the email ID. So we are accepting just the email ID from the user, and when he submits the email ID, then we'll be sending a unique link in the back end, right? But if you see the HTML, what we have done, we have simply asked the user that, okay, if you have clicked on forgot password, then this HTML will be displayed to the user, where you will be entering the email ID. So this will get a little more clear when we will be running the application. I am just explaining the code, that what all we have governed here. So we are governing the errors and success messages as well as the HTML in this. So this is my forgot HTML. So this is very simple HTML, right? So no JavaScript is there, just the CSS and HTML are being used. So now let's go to the registration controller, and let's say that when you click on /forgot password, so you will be redirected to forgot password HTML, right? So the name should be same, forgot password, right? So now if the user is being shown the forgot password HTML, now when he enters the email ID and submits it, then there should be a post call, right? uh, in the backend we have to govern something out of that email ID, right? So we have to fetch the user from that email ID from the database, and then we have to check that okay, if the user is present, then we have to generate a unique link for that particular user, and then send that particular link to the user, right, on the email ID, right, to reset the password. So now let's make a post mapping for forgot password, and let's say, and what we'll be returning from here will also be an HTML. So let's say string, and we'll say let's say forgot password process, right? So we'll be processing something. So let's say that forgot password process, and for time being let's return a blank string, and let's understand that what we have to do here. So let's understand that what we have to do in this method. So we'll be getting the email ID, right? So email ID of the user will be given to us. So what we can say, we can accept maybe a user DTO can be accepted, right? So user DTO contains the email and all. So if you can have a question that okay, why we are not using user login DTO? Because look, login DTO is being specifically defined for login process, right? Because the load user by username requires a username rather than an email. So that's why we are not using that DTO. We are using the user DTO. So if we get the user DTO, right, we get the email ID of the user. Now what we'll do, we'll be simply fetching the user from database, right? So we already have a user object, so let us fetch. If the person is trying to reset the password, then we can assume that the user is present in the database. So we can say user equals to, so we should have an object for user repo. Yes. So user repository find by email. Find by email method I have already made, and we were designing the registration and login modules. So you can simply say user DTO dot get email, right? So we'll be getting the email ID, so we are accepting the email from here, right? Now what we can say, simply if user is not equals to null, then what we have to do, if the user is not null, then we have to process it, right? We have to send an email to the user. So what we can say, we can define a method in the service. We can simply say user detail service, right? In the service part we'll be writing the email part. So let's say user detail service and dot send email. So we'll say send email, right? So send email. So we have to define this method, right? And this method should have some output, let's say string output, right? We can simply say this, and we can say that okay, output should have been some output equals, right? So now let's define the method. Let's define a method in the service class. So we have the string method user. So what we have to do, let me copy paste the code of sending the email, right? So we have already done various times, so let me copy paste that code. So now this is my code for sending the email, right? So we first need to have we'll be defining a link, a unique link for that particular user, right? So the call would be in the send email method, and we have the user object here that we have fetched from the database, right? So we'll be sending the email from there only. So let me now define the Java mail sender. So let me define the Java mail sender object here. Java mail sender, Java mail sender, right? So this is my library that we'll be using to send the email. Now we have to create a link, right? A unique link to send the link to the user, right? That should be specific to that particular user only, or maybe it should be a unique link that could have some expiry time, right? So what we'll do, we'll be creating a link. So let me uncomment this method, and we'll be creating this method again. So we'll create this method. So we have this method. So now what we have to do, we have to have an entity, right? A model wherein we'll be having a token, we'll be having the expiry time, and you can store the username and all those things also for the user. So what we'll do first, we'll be defining an entity, right? Let's go to the model package and let's define a particular entity. That is, let's define a class called as password reset token, right? Password reset token, right? This entity will also be in our database, right? So it will be there in our database. So this is my password reset entity. There we have the primary key, then we have the token, that is the string, then we have some expiry date, right? And then the reference of user, right? So there would be a reference of user in our password reset token, right? And same way have some reference in the user entity as well. So let me go to the user entity and let me define some reference for password. So let me define a one-to-one mapping with the password reset token, right? So let me now generate the getters and setters. So let's go to the source and we can say generate getters and setters for password reset token, right? So we have the password reset token entity ready for us, right? So if we go into password reset token, so you can see that we will have a reference of user in this table, right? So a user id, user object will be stored into this table, right? The reference would be of user id, but when you will be fetching this object, as it says that cascade type all and fetch type is eager, then the user object will also be fetched for this particular entity, right? So if a particular entity is being fetched for with that particular id or maybe from token, this user object will also be loaded, right? So now we are ready with the password reset entity and we are also ready with the user object. Let's do again to the service part, and now we have to generate a unique token and set that token to our database as well, right? And I have to have a token repository, right? So we have the model, now we have to save the data to the database, so we'll need that repository as well. So let's go to the user repository and let's make a new interface, token repository, right? Token repository. And what we can say, we can extends jpa repository, right? So we need token password reset token and we have the id as integer. So we have the repository. Now we have to define a method here that will be for the save part, so we don't need to say define a method, so we can simply use the inbuilt method. So let me auto wire it. Let me auto wire token repository and let's say token repository, right? So token repository, so we have the token repository now. So what we are doing here, we are simply generating a unique UUID using a random UUID method, right? And then we have the current date, that is the local date.now, and we are setting the expiry date to current date plus 30 minutes. So the time for expiry of this particular token will be 30 minutes, right? And then what we are doing, we are having a password reset token object and we are setting all these things into this entity and then saving that entity, right? And then what we are doing, we are simply generating a endpoint, that is reset password, that we'll be writing in the controller now. So we'll be generating this reset password link along with this token, right? So reset token dot get token, right? So we have the object that we have saved and we are getting that token from here, right? So what token that we are setting in the reset token, right? So this is the reset token that we are setting. So we are getting that token and we are appending that token to the URL, right? So now we have the generate token part as well done, right? And we are sending the email to the particular user. So now what work we have to do, we have to go to the controller part, right? Now we have to write the controller call. So now we'll have the output. So we have to send the user DTO, right? So we have to send the user object in this method. So we have sent the user object. So we have fetched the output. Now what we have to do, if the output, if you see from the service, if we go back to the service part, so you can see that what we are returning the success, right? Success and error, right? So error stack will be printed, right? So let's go to the controller and if we say output dot equals success, right? We say success, then we have to return some HTML, right? So if the output is success, that okay, we have sent the email to the user for resetting the password, then what should be returned, right? So nothing should be returned. It should just simply say that okay, forgot password with if we use the redirect part, so forgot password with the success message. So let me simply say forgot password question mark. This URL, that is question mark success, will go to the forgot password HTML and read that there is any parameter for success. Is there any URL that has been configured, right? So the parameter success is there, and the message to the user is email sent to you to reset the password. Please check folder if mail is not visible, right? So this is how we'll the user, right? So now the email has been sent to the user, and if in case the email the user is not present in the database, then what we will return. So what if the user is not present in the database, allowing the user to reset the password? So what we can say, we can simply say return login with error, right? Login with error. So if you define this way, error, right? So if you go to the login HTML, let me show you the login HTML. So if you see that there is an error parameter, yes, so error parameter has been defined here, and if it says user not present with this email, please register, right? So if you are putting in email ID unnecessarily to forgot password and you are not registered with the application, then again going to the forgot password, right? So that's why we say that user is not present in the database. So now let's go to the so we have defined the user defined the application till that point the user has been sent a email link, right? So now the email link, if you see that we have sent the slash reset password, if you go to the service part and if you see the URL that we are sending to the user, so it is like slash reset password, and along with the reset password there is a token, right? So we'll be defining the endpoint like this only, right? So let's go again to the registration controller, and let's say get mapping, right? And let's say slash reset password slash, and let's say token. So we'll say public reset password form, and we'll be getting a token. So let's say string something, right? So returning would be a reset password HTML, right? So if we say that okay, the person has clicked on the link, we can't directly return the HTML to the user, right? So we have to check that okay, the person has clicked on the link, so that the token that has been attached to that link, is that token valid till now? Is it the token has not been expired? So what we can do, we can simply check that okay, if the token is expired, so if the token is expired, then we'll not be letting the user to go to the reset password HTML, right? And we'll be redirecting it to the forgot password or maybe the login part. And if the token is not expired, then only we'll be letting the user to show the reset password HTML, right? So what you can do here, we can simply define. So what we can do here, we can simply say that okay, token from the repository by finding by token, right? We have the token, so we'll be saying that find by token, right? And what we need also a model, right? So let me say model. So we need to show something on the user front in the reset password HTML. That's why we are requiring a model here, right? So now what we can do, we can simply define an object for token repository. So let's go on the top and let's say at the rate auto wired, and let's say token repository. Let me import, let me say token repository, right? So we have the token repository and we are saying that find user by token. So let me define a method, create a method. So in the token we have the method now. So what will happen, it will go and fetch the token reset object from the database using this particular token that has been supplied to from the URL. Token is present, right? So if the token is object has been there, then what we will be checking that okay, is the token expired? So we'll have to make a method here, right? So we'll have to make has expired method, right? That will be returning a boolean. So what we can do here is we can simply say that okay, find the current date, right? So the current date is local date time dot now, and we'll be checking that okay, the expiry time is after this current date, right? The expiry time, like you can say that the time is after this current date. So if the particular time is of like we can say 11 a.m. and this time expiry time, that is 11:15 a.m. So we can say that 11:15 will come after 11, right? That's why the token is not expired, right? And if it's before the current time, then the token has been expired, right? So this will return me a true or false value here. So this is a method that we'll be telling that okay, the password is password is expired or not. So if the password is not expired and we have the reset token object, then what we are using model, and we are setting the email part, right? So as I said that when the change password HTML will be shown, then the sorry reset password HTML would be shown to the user. Their email will be auto filled, right? And you will have two fields that will be enter your password and re-enter your password, and when you submit it, that will get updated into the database. So what we are doing, we are setting into the model the email ID that we are getting from the user. As I said, that user token has the reference of sorry, password token has a reference of user model. That's why we are getting the user object from password reset token, and then we are getting a reset token. Now if the the password, the sorry, the token has expired, or maybe the entry is not there for that particular token, then what we are doing, we are simply returning again to the user to the forgot password with an error, right? So the error would be shown to the user. So this is how you can have the reset password. So let me enter the reset password HTML as well. So I have already made these HTMLs, right? So you can copy these HTMLs, or maybe you can take the reference of these HTMLs. So the HTMLs are a little basic, so you can take the reference from here only, right? So now the reset will be displayed to the user. When the user has entered the password and he submits, right? When we go to the reset password, as I said that the email ID would be pre-filled, right? So if you go to the form and if you check that email ID will be pre-filled, the field, and then what we are accepting from the user, the password and the confirm password, right? And if you see that I have written some JavaScript here to govern that okay, the right, so you have to, what actually I am performing here is that okay, on blur of this particular field, right, when we have tabbed out or maybe we have clicked somewhere else, this method will be called check password and the event would be passed here, right? And from that check password, what we are doing, we are simply checking that okay, the password field and the confirm password field has the same value. If there is if the value is not same, then I have a span defined here. So span will simply show you the error that okay, the password is incorrectly entered, the confirmed password is incorrectly entered, right? And it will prevent you from submitting, right? Some errors would be prevented. So I have moved a little bit up in the UI part front as well. So that's why I have showed you that I have written some JavaScript code as well. So this is my HTML for the reset password. So now let's go to the controller again, and let's say after submitting your password, it will go to the post mapping. So let me copy this and let me go down and let me put it here and let me say post mapping, right? So the post mapping will also be returning some HTML, right? So let me say public password reset process. So I am saying password reset process, and I will return something from here, right? So let me say this, and now we'll be getting something as an input, right? So we'll be getting something as an input, so we'll be getting a password as an input. So we can take simply user DTO. So we can say @model attribute, and we can accept the use. So we have the user DTO now, and what process we should perform. So what we have to do here, that okay, if the person has arrived here, now what we can do, we can simply say that okay, find the user by let me say user equals user repository dot find by email, and we have the email in the user DTO, right? That is the read only field on the HTML. So we'll say user DTO, find user by user DTO, and if we can say if the user is not equals null, then we can simply say that okay, user dot set password user dto dot get password, and we can simply again say find user repository dot save, right? And we particular user, so now the password will get updated for this particular user, and then we'll be simply returning the user with the login html, right? We'll simply return the login html from here. So this is the way you can define your application, right? It's not important that you should run your application now time and again to check that okay, the functionality is being working or not, because look, if you have the design in your mind, then you can define the step by step of your application, right? So this is the complete application design. So most of the code was from the controller part, from the service part, and from the configurations were defined for one time only, right? So okay, so configuration part, right? So what is left in the configuration part, let me take you to the Spring security configuration. So if you see here that what we are saying that okay, if the request matches with slash registration, then permit that request, and if it's a login request, then the after submission of the login, the default success URL is of user dashboard, right? So if the login is successful, then you can redirect it to a user dashboard HTML, or maybe user dashboard controller call, right? So if you see that okay, if we have a call of slash forgot password, right, then what? Then the user would not get permitted, right? So the security authentication will be running on that, and we don't have any write some filter or maybe a custom success handler for that particular URL. So what we have to do, we have to tell Spring Security that okay, if the URLs with slash forgot password or maybe slash reset password along with any token or any character comes with you, you have to permit that request, right? So Spring Security will permit that request, but all the checkings would be done in the controller part, right? So that's why we put two more URLs here, that is slash forgot password. Let me copy it rather than simply writing it. Let me go to the controller part. Where is my controller? Here is my controller. So we have to put this URL, right? So we have to put this particular URL, and we have to put this URL as well. I'll tell you that why are we putting this here when I'll run the application, right? So we have to put this URL as well. Uh, Along with that, okay, something could be there after slash for this URL. So you have to permit this request, right? So we are done with the code part. So let's now run the application. But first, let me take you to the application properties. So we have configured the Postgres database with forgot password as the schema name. We have the details, we have the email ID and the password configured, and yes, these are the details. And if I take you to the database, so this is my database that has been configured already, right? So let's go to the application main class. So let me go to the main class now, and let's see the process by. So the server has started, right? So the server has started, right? So let me go localhost 8080 and let me say register. So let me first register a user. So the name could be Ramanpreet, email ID could be a genuine email ID, right? And the password I'm keeping is 12345. 12345. Right. So let me register the user. So yes, we are redirected to the login page, and our user is being inserted into the database. So let me first log in with that email ID, and let me show you 12345, and let me log in. So yes, so we are on the user dashboard, right? So let me now log out from this application, and let's see the functionality of forgot password. So let me click forgot password, and you can see that a form is being displayed to us to enter the email ID. So when we'll enter the email ID and do the submit part, internally we are sending a unique link to the user on the email ID from there the user can reset the password. So let me submit and let me wait for the email ID to be sent to the user. So you can see that the message has been displayed: email sent to you to reset password. Please check spam folder if mail is not visible. Received a mail. So this is the mail that we have received. So let me click on the link and go to the reset page. So yes, so this is the unique token that was generated, and we are on the reset password page where the email ID is non-editable and a password here. So let me enter password like 23456 and let me say 6, right? So let me submit. So my password has been updated in the database. So if I log in with the new password, I would be allowed to go to dashboard 23456. So let me click on login. And yes, you can see that we are on the dashboard, and this is how you can implement the forgot password functionality. Like, share, comment on the video, and if new to the channel, please subscribe and press the bell icon. Hope to see you in the next video. Till then, happy